All right, let's go ahead and read this. I'm gonna expand it on the page. This is Sean Paul Reyes from Long Island Audit. Here's what he says. I have never, nor will I ever, excuse law enforcement for following unconstitutional orders. My track record speaks for itself. I was trying to make the point that the system itself is evil. He says that I was trying to make the point that the system itself is evil. I agree with that. I believe there's a systemic problem, but the system is being operated by human beings. So if the system is evil, then in my mind, and my thoughts are limited, so that's why none of us is greater than all of us. And I think we all rely on each other to look at things from different perspectives and add to the conversation so we can get a more fully orbed view of what's actually going on. The systems only exist because human beings are keeping the system going. So if we're going to say the system is evil, then the creators of the system and the propagators of the system and the supporters of the system are evil as well. Because if you have good people creating a system, then it seems like the system would be good. If more bad people are in control of the system and the system is bad, that's because evil people are in control, in my opinion. So we're talking about, it's easy to euphemistically say or anthropomorphize a system and create it into some kind of man, but it really is just a group of men who make up that system and who propel that system forward and bring it into being and enact it. We are never going to accomplish anything by sitting on our computers calling all law enforcement in America Gestapo. But what if it's true? And I agree. Like everybody has their own gift. And I'm not sitting here saying that all I could possibly do is ever sit behind this computer and I'm never going to be able to go out in the street where the rubber meets the road and tackle this and grab the bull by the horns like other people do. What I am saying is that if the American thin blue line cult is acting like a Gestapo, if it's acting like a duck, waddling like a duck, eating like a duck, quacking like a duck, and you call it a duck, how can that not be a good thing? That's just the truth. Now, if people's feelings get hurt, I'm not sorry. Why would you apologize for speaking a truth? Now, is there a way that you could speak a truth that could bring more people on board, make it more palatable, be more diplomatic? Yeah, of course. Like I said before, if there's a bumblebee or a wasp on your friend's forehead, I could take this coffee mug and just knock it right in. Like this coffee mug doesn't have anything. Just crack him in the skull. And I guarantee you that wasp will not be on his forehead anymore, but the brain within that forehead might be damaged. So I will opt for like a piece of paper. Look there. Okay. Wasp gone. No permanent damage inflicted. Am I for diplomacy and doing things the right way? Yeah, of course. And we can take a look at this kind of stuff and we can have a conversation about it. But I don't think it's misguided and I don't think it's untrue to say the thin blue line cult who's killing people. And like we saw two examples of this today. They want to charge this guy for making a joke and wearing an article of clothing that looks like a clown costume uniform. They want to economically terrorize that guy. What's the difference between economic terrorism on that front and the Gestapo front? They want to charge James, the guy in the first video that AFA went over, Accountability for All, Josh over there, and they want to wreck his life and take him to an RAPE cage for absolutely doing nothing wrong. And they admit he didn't do anything wrong, but they take him to jail anyway. How is that action that comes out of the Lyon County Sheriff's Department, LYON, which should be LYIN apostrophe, different from what Hitler's troops did? How is it different? I don't see the difference. And how can you get more dead than dead? And how can you get more tyrannical than death? Don't you think that if they were able to come back to life, that Eric Garner and Karen Garner is dead, and I'm convinced that she died because of the actions of Austin Hopp and Daria Jalali for the Loveland Police Department. Kelly Thomas is no longer with us. Daniel Shaver. So many people have been beaten and battered and wounded and left for dead and offed. If they were to come back to life, would they tell you, no, there's a difference between the death that was inflicted on me by the Thin Blue Line gang and the Gestapo. Death is death. Jail is jail. 100% freedom lost is 100% freedom's lost. I don't care who did it. If their actions coincide with and line up with the exact same actions that happened in 1930s Germany or in Soviet Russia or in communist China or that are currently happening in North Korea and all over the world, then call a spade and don't back off from it. It is what it is. And if you happen to be the police officer out there like Captain George Raposo and this hurts your feelings, I'm not sorry. You need to hear this. You need the smelling salts of reality and you need a full dose of truth. And for me to minimize it or dilute it is for me to be completely dishonest with my own character and my own heart and the truth itself. So I don't get what people aren't getting here. He said it's utterly disrespectful for those who live under the Gestapo to say that our law enforcement is equivalent. What if it's not? What if it's not? What if people who lived under the Gestapo actually saw that, yeah, sometimes the Gestapo had good days and they were nice guys and they helped little old ladies across the street and they helped me carry my groceries in and they didn't do anything bad to me that day. Thin Blue Line does the same thing. It's not 100% tyranny all the time or they'd be, okay, we don't need this organization. They're constantly breaking in. They're constantly stealing my money. They're constantly pulling me over and harassing me and impounding my car every single day. No, that's not going to wash. They got to do some good things every so often. Like this right here. Look, I'm going to show you a bad police officer who just happened to do good. Watch this. The name of this right here is Austin police officer who are known for being horrible, absolute tyrants. A help child choking on candy. Watch this.
Hey. Jason, let him on this.
So anyway, I'm just gonna. Okay, so they got this kid choking on a piece of candy. So watch this. After they get done taking care of this little medical thing that this kid was having because he couldn't breathe and he has asthma according to his parents and all that. Watch this. Like this. Gave him a high five. Hey, that's good. Now everything's all good, right? Good. This equals good police officer, right? No, it doesn't. You don't think that the Gestapo did good things every now and then? When I say all cops are bad, I'm not saying everything that they ever do or will ever do is bad. I'm saying that they signed on the dotted line to uphold and protect and defend our rights, and they do the exact opposite. I don't know one and have never seen one that didn't violate their vital oath. Because in honoring your vital oath, you're actually honoring human life. In violating your oath, you're violating and ending and making more miserable human life. It's not hard. This isn't hard. I'm not a smart person. I'm not super intelligent. It just makes sense to me. Sean Paul Reyes from Long Island Audit says, my wife was a political prisoner in Venezuela. How many political prisoners do you think are in American jails today, all over states, all over the nation? I can think of two right now. Eric Brandt, Jeffrey Winehouse, that's two, and Schaefer Cox, just right off the top of my head. Schaefer Cox is in a CMU in Terre Haute, Indiana. It's a communications management unit. It's reserved for the worst of the worst. He never committed a crime. He just exposed his government in Alaska for being PEDOs. And they retaliated against him. And they tried to wire an FBI agent to make him, talk about, offing police or whatever, which he never did. They never got anything on him. And yet he's been in jail for almost a decade now. Want another political prisoner? How about Ross Ulbricht? Never committed anything wrong. He just created a parallel economy called Silk Road, and they didn't like that, so the FBI converged against him. Now he's going to serve, this young man, I think he went in when he was 23, 24 years old, is going to serve 2 consecutive life sentences for having killed no one, for having stolen from no one, for having done nothing evil to a little kid. And yet you have PEDOs being released all the time. They don't get life behind bars, but Ross Ulbricht does. Because the judge didn't like what Eric Brandt said. Now he's rotting in a jail cell somewhere. She may have been a political prisoner in Venezuela, but that doesn't mean there aren't political prisoners in America, the land of the free, home of the brave, right now in real time. So if it's bad in areas where there are political prisoners, i.e. Venezuela, then it's also bad in America when that happens, right? We have 2.1 to 2.4 million people incarcerated in American jails right now. We are considered by all nations as incarceration nation. And that exponentiated and just went through the roof in the 1970s when they passed the war on drugs, which is really a war on people. That's tyranny. That's Gestapo-like SS red swastika tyranny. under the auspices of the thin blue line, and we're going to stamp out drug abuse and addiction. Like Delete Law says, we are living in Nixon's America. This is still, we have the drug war still. Sean says that his wife was arrested and thrown in jail for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. What are the videos that we play? Sean was arrested and put in jail for being in the wrong place at the wrong time for having done nothing wrong. She has experienced both countries, and she said, quote, "It's absolutely ridiculous to compare the two." Why? When we see it on a grand scale every single day. So this is why we're going to be talking. Okay, so Sean continues. Is there tyranny in our country? Of course. That's why I wake up every day doing my best to eradicate and expose it. We need to take action. I totally agree. Totally agree. No one is going to rise up against law enforcement physically. Let's be real. All right, let's say it's 17, and I get what he's saying here, okay? And nobody here on this channel, and nobody's advocating any kind of violent uprising or anything. Nobody's doing that, okay? But let's just go back in our little time machine to, I don't know, say 1774, 1775. And somebody goes, guys, nobody's going to rise up against the redcoats physically. Let's get real. Nobody. I mean, you know, you had your little thing with the Tea Party. You hate the tax on tea. You can't stand the oppression of the redcoats and the British government and the king and all that kind of stuff. And you wrote out your basically 95 thesis in the form of the Declaration of Independence, and you expressed your grievances, but nobody is going to rise up against the redcoats. Let's be real. 1776 comes along, and all of a sudden people are like, no, you know what? This warrants rising up against the redcoats. You cannot say that today, just like they couldn't say it in 1775, because the exact opposite happened. They did rise against the redcoats. They did do it. It just so happens that modern day redcoats are hiding behind something called the thin blue line. So some other solution in my mind is to hold our elected officials and the system itself accountable and get the unconstitutional laws repealed, hold oath breakers accountable. But we have already tried that. We have shall not be infringed. We have Congress shall not abridge ... RAPPS, religion, assembly, petition, press, speech. We already have the Fifth Amendment, and they violate that all day long and try to coerce us out of it. We have the Fourth Amendment, right to be secure in our persons, houses, papers, and effects, and they're constantly flash banging families for no reason, getting the wrong house. We already have these things in place. So what do? Repeal the laws that are trying to mask the Constitution? It's like it doesn't work. Many people have tried that very, very, very often, and it hasn't worked. We also need to focus breaking up government unions. I agree with that. They are all evil and don't care about the people or our rights, and they protect tyrants. Well, you know what that says to me? They are all evil and don't care about the people or our rights. They protect tyrants. You know what word rises in my mind when I see a sentence like that? Gestapo. SS. If anyone has any better ideas, I'm open to a discussion about it. I do believe something should be done. Do I have all the answers? I have some of the answers. I don't have all the answers. I know if you demonetize violence, if you demonetize the monopoly on violence, you're going to make some headway. If you completely take away, qualified immunity, Terra v. Ohio, whatever platform you want to argue on, if you take away that right there, and then you make a law, not for the people, but for the law enforcers, if you cross this line, we already have the laws on the books, 18 U.S.C. 242. If you deprive somebody of their rights under color of law, if we catch you conspiring against rights, we are going to take that very, very, very seriously. And we're going to hold rights up here, and we're going to hold you down here. And not only will you lose all of your property if you cross that line, you may go to jail for the rest of your life. You may, according to the prescription of 18 U.S.C. 242, get that. It should be a crime to turn off your body camera during the course of your 8 or 10 or 12-hour shift or whatever. Basically, the cops' badges are a get-out-of-jail-free card no matter where they go. Some other solutions in my mind is to hold our elected officials accountable. If anyone has any better ideas, I'm open to discussion on it. I think it's self-serving to just fuel hate for law enforcement without offering up any sort of solution. I agree. We should point out the problem, offer a solution, and then enact the solutions that are common sense. I agree. I agree with that, Sean. Captain Raposo teaches First Amendment rights to show respect to we the people to different governments for free on his own time. If you want to bring him down, that's your right. I just respectfully disagree that will solve anything. How is bringing Captain Raposo down when I just point out the fact that the department that he works for is a thin blue line thug organization that will criminalize you if you have a personal protection device in the state of New Jersey? How is that bringing him down? His police department is decidedly anti-Second Amendment, which means anti-self-defense, which means anti-human life, which means Gestapo, which means NAZISS. How is that bringing him down? That's just conveying a truth. You know, when I see somebody say, if you just want to bring him down, it's like criticism without warrant is bringing somebody down. But what if it's warranted? What if it's absolutely 100% verifiably, objectively true? Again, if anyone would like to talk about any solution, I'm open for discussion, and I appreciate that. But comparing all law enforcement in our country to NAZISs and Gestapo is disrespectful for those who live under them. You know what? I disagree, and everybody who's been maimed and murdered and pilfered from and lied about will absolutely disagree with you too. And I don't know why Sean, who's been the brunt of the New York Gestapo, doesn't see this the same way. Saying all cops are bad is your right, and I fight for that right every day. I just think this was a waste of live stream. It accomplished nothing. When truth goes out, I view truth as a seed. And sometimes, I don't know if you've ever grown a garden, but you just broadcast the seeds indiscriminately, or you plant them in a hole and you cover them up and then you go on to the next hole and all that. Some of those seeds, a big percentage of those seeds don't grow. That doesn't mean you didn't put a seed in the ground. That doesn't mean you didn't affect positive change. So Sean's opinion is that my video, my live stream, this live stream right here was a waste of time. Well, I would agree if what I said wasn't true, but I don't think it's untrue. I don't think it's a lie. And therefore, if it is true and it's not a lie and it actually exposes lies and it tears down euphemisms and it calls spades spades, then I don't see how that equals accomplishing nothing. Because truth may not look like it germinated today. And it may not germinate tomorrow. And it may not even germinate in the next 2 weeks. But, you know, sometimes you look back and you're like, oh my God, that's a tomato that's growing, and I thought I didn't think it was going to grow. That's a silver maple that I grew in my backyard, and now look, it's like 10 feet tall, and I didn't realize I just saw no indication that was going to do anything. That's like what truth is. You're just all we are is farmers. We're farmers, and we're broadcasting our seeds, the seeds of truth. You're just speaking the truth, living the truth, loving the truth, embracing the truth, exposing lies, opening up that dirt, tilling that soil, dropping the seeds in, and you're just waiting to see what'll happen. That is never a waste of time, ever. But I spoke the truth, man. And I'm not backing off, and I'm not apologizing for it. I mean, if it looks like the Gestapo and it acts like the Gestapo and it conducts no-knock raids as a Gestapo and throws the flashbangs and then tortures you with electrocution on roadside and interferes with your right to travel like Gestapo and says, give me your papers like Gestapo, then guess what? It's Gestapo. I don't care if it speaks English or German or, you know, has a Nazi flag or the thin blue line flag. Doesn't matter to me. The actions fit the description. I think we should all be united, but it's got to be on the truth. It's got to be on undiluted truth, not, you know, pansy ass, you know, and I'm not saying Sean's involved in this. I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of things I disagree with on what this guy said. Namely, the very end of his seminar, his good sounding seminar was, hey, oh, by the way, everything I just said, I'm going to unsay it by saying you're securing your person. You don't have to give up your personal ID unless it has to do with New Jersey traffic law. Well, that is evil. That is frickin' evil. So I need to be insecure in my person in violation of the Constitution because you say I have to under traffic law? No, ain't gonna do it. That's tyranny. That's tyranny.